Today, most people have toothbrushes and toothpaste to brush their teeth. It is recommended that we brush at least 2 to 3 times a day, not only to clean our teeth, but to prevent cavities as well. My mother used to tell us a story about her childhood to periodically put into perspective how fortunate we were to grow up the way we did here in America. And I believe this story has taught me two underlying lessons. The first is to always be grateful for everything you have, even the smallest thing. And the second is just how important oral hygiene is. I have two sisters, so there's three of us total, and we grew up in a middle class family, but the case was very different for my mother. A little bit of backstory. My mother grew up in the Philippines with 8 brothers and one sister in a one-bedroom hut. The hut didn't have much to it. They had one bedroom and they had a living area, and there was no bathroom in the actual home. They actually had kind of an outhouse, and they didn't actually have a kitchen as well in the house. So what they did is they cooked outside. They had they would build a fire, and then they had like a something to hold the pot up so that they can cook over the fire. They also didn't have any electricity or running water, so what they would do is they would make their own lanterns with gasoline, and they would make their own wicks as well. And they would really only use this for nighttime. Once the sun went down, though, my mother said that typically everything was done. They had already cleaned up for the night, they had already eaten, homework was done. So nighttime was really just for sleeping. But if they did need a light, it was there. And then for the water situation, they would go down to the local well with their buckets, and they would pump the water into the buckets. And there was kind of a handle where you just had to pump the water out. Um, and they would just do that into the buckets, carry the buckets home, and that would be what they used at home. And they would use it for their needs like laundry, bathing, cooking, etc. They were very poor and they barely had enough food to feed themselves. My grandparents and all the children actually worked together picking rice in the rice field, and doing that, they made a little bit of money, and they also provided rice for themselves. For most of their childhood, they couldn't even afford toothbrushes for all the children. So typically they would share, they usually had about three at a time for all 12 of them, 10 children and the two adults. So they would share that, all the children shared the toothbrush. Um, and my mother would often talk about um, other ways of making a toothbrush. So the one that I remember the most was she used to talk about picking a guava off the guava tree, and she would cut it up to mimic a toothbrush. And if you don't know what a guava is, it's just a fruit that has seeds on the inside and it has like a fleshy, soft part, and then it has a hard outer layer. So the hard outer layer is what she would use for the toothbrush. She would pour salt onto the tip of it, and that's what she used to actually brush her teeth. So they all had really poor oral hygiene, but not because they chose to, but they just couldn't afford to take care of their teeth. The underlying lesson of this story has taught me to always be grateful for what I have. Growing up, I was fortunate enough not to have to worry about whether we had enough food to eat, because we were sufficiently provided for, and our home was always warm in the winter. It made me more mindful of what I have and has encouraged me not to go overboard with buying things unless they were necessary. And the second lesson this taught me is just how important oral hygiene is. The story has really stuck with me, and I believe it is actually what led me to choose my career path. Um, I'm a dental assistant now, and I'm actually continuing my education in dental hygiene to become a dental hygienist. Um, so when you go to sleep tonight, I know most people don't think about how fortunate they are to have what they have, like brushing their teeth or eating dinner or taking a shower in a warm bathroom or sleeping in a comfortable bed. And I am guilty of this because I've just been so accustomed to living comfortably that I don't often think about other people's situations. But when I do think about it, it really humbles me and makes me feel fortunate for what I have. So in conclusion, appreciate what you have and take care of your teeth.